Welcome back to the Bible Reading Project. It is Thursday. I'm with my friend Ryan Holdeman. Beautiful orange shirt, man, looking good in orange. You going to start wearing those all the time, or are you going back to t-shirts? Are you going back to sloppy Ryan or this Ryan? I don't know what I want to call this Ryan yet. I want to hip, not really hip.
Semi-professional.
Semi-pro Ryan.
Yeah.
Or are you going to go back to trashy homeless Ryan? Which one do you like better?
We'll just see how I'm
I
feeling.
like this guy better.
It's just how I feel.
You know what? It inspires me. I wish I was a pastor. I do. I don't. I feel like I'm a peepaw, and I feel like you're really fulfilling your new role.
Oh yeah.
So let me ask you before we jump in, what's been going on in your pastor life now that you're a pastor? How's the church doing here?
It's doing well.
Good.
We have 3 members.
Good. Praise God.
And they're tithing a few dollars, so it's going pretty good.
Love it. Glad.
We almost have a website, so
I'm
it's
excited
official.
You started your new church across town, and
Thank you.
I'm supporting you.
Thank you.
I'm all in, right?
Yeah.
So, Pastor Ryan, thank you. For those that don't know, just last week you became a pastor because it was on a box. It was written.
That's right.
So, whatever we're called in the mail, we take on as a title. So, here's the thought. You ready? Matthew 5. We've been reading it all week. So, here's our thoughts. Jesus was coming into a group of people who were trying to live a perfected life. He talks to them about perfection, but introduces the concept of a father that wants to reward you. But here's why that's so powerful. Because they were coming from a concept that if we don't do what the God tells us to do, we're cursed. All right? So he brings in the word reward. Daddy, Father God wants to reward you. Yeah. But in their mind, listen to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But if you refuse to listen to the Lord and you do not obey his commands and decrees I'm giving you today, all these curses will come on you and overwhelm you. So we have to put ourselves into the thinking of the people Jesus is preaching to.
Right.
I'll say talking to. And in their mind, they're coming from, if I don't do it right, I'm cursed.
Right.
Like, I better toe the line, and if I don't toe the line, I'm cursed.
Right.
So Jesus has to introduce that you better be perfect. So the moment he says in verse 48, you need to be perfect as your Father is perfect, they've already heard this.
Right.
And they've already realized, we're going to blow it. We're cursed.
Yeah.
So what they did is they just made a bunch of other religious things to make them feel better about themselves, but they never changed.
Right.
Their hearts were always bent toward, we're just going to break the rules of God.
Right.
So let's jump into Matthew chapter 5, very top. Now we're reading it. So as I read it now, I won't maybe as I read, if something jumps out, just stop me. Okay. And within the thought of a group of people who know they're cursed if they don't toe the line, and Jesus is going to come start preaching about God in a different way than they've ever known him as a father.
Right.
So listen to the first thing he says. We've already talked about this. Chapter 5, verse 1. Here we go. One day, as he saw the crowds gathering, so here they all come with these thoughts, these religious thoughts. Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples gathered around him, and he began to teach them. God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for him. For the kingdom of heaven is theirs. God blesses those who mourn. See, he's already starting out with blessing rather than cursing.
Yeah, right.
Right? They think they're cursed.
Right.
And they are cursed.
Yeah.
But Jesus has already captured their ears with, wait a minute, this guy's telling me about a God that will bless me.
That's good.
And they already knew that too. They knew the blessings of the Old Testament.
Right.
God blesses those who are humble, for they will inherit the whole earth. God blesses those who hunger and thirst for justice. They'll be satisfied. God blesses those who are merciful. They'll be shown mercy. God blesses those whose hearts are pure. They love that, for they will see God. God blesses those who work for peace, for they will be called children of God. God blesses those who are persecuted for doing right, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. God blesses you when people mock you and persecute you and lie about you and say all sorts of evil things against you because you are my followers. Be happy about it. Be very glad, for a great reward awaits you in heaven. And remember, the ancient prophets were persecuted in the same way. So let's just kind of take the thought. The thought is, I better toe the line or I'm cursed. This God is going to curse me. If I disobey in one thing, I'm cursed in all the things. And then this new dude comes on town and starts introducing God as a father who I could live blessed, and he wants to reward me. But but my heart's still not right. So let's keep reading. Watch what he says about him. Verse 13, you're the salt of the earth. But what good is salt if it's lost its flavor? Can you even make it salty again? It will be thrown out and trampled underfoot as worthless. So here he's bringing that concept back. You know, you're trying to be good, but there's this worthless thing. You're the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that can't be hidden. But no one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket. Instead, the lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. Now he's bringing them back to this concept of, yeah, I can do it. Good deeds.
Right.
That's me. I can live this thing. I can do this. And he's setting them up, you know, that God is going to reward you, but you got to do these good deeds. And so they're like, yeah, I'm trekking with you. I've been taught this my whole life, right? Don't misunderstand, as it gets good, why I've come. I did not come to abolish the law of Moses. There's that, you better obey or else. No, I came to accomplish their purpose.
Right.
I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not even the smallest detail of God's law. In other words, reminding them there's still the curse out there.
Yeah.
You're still, if you don't obey, you're still cursed. If you're not perfect, you're cursed.
Yeah.
Don't think that I came to get rid of that.
Right.
So he's already talking to them where they can understand it.
Yeah.
So if you ignore the least commandment and teach others to do the same, you'll be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But anyone who obeys God's laws and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. And so now they're like, okay, wait a minute. You told me I was blessed and God wanted to reward me, but now you're bringing back in this God that if I don't toe the line and do right, I'm not going to be rewarded. I'm going to be cursed. And I don't understand. You seem to be going against Moses, but you tell me you're for Moses, but you tell me I'm blessed, but Moses says I'm cursed. And so so Jesus just keeps going.
Right.
But I warn you, verse 20, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. In other words, there are rule keepers here.
Right.
And there are people that keep all the rules, but they're not right.
Right.
So now he's like, wait a minute. You mean if I keep the rules, I'm not right? Because I've been told my whole life, if I keep the rules, I'm right. That's what we do in church today. You keep the rules, you're right. And Jesus says, well, let me tell you something. You can keep all the rules, but you still may not be right.
Right.
Verse 24, you've heard that our ancestors were told you must not murder. And that was true. They're like, yeah. But if you commit murder, you're subject to judgment. Yeah, that's what we were told. But he says, I say if you're even angry with someone, you're subject to judgment. Yeah. And if you call someone an idiot, you're in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, in the danger of the fire of hell. So if you're presenting a sacrifice at the altar in the temple and you suddenly remember that someone has something against you, leave your sacrifice, go and be reconciled to that person, then come and offer your sacrifice to God. And when you're on your way to the court with your adversary, settle all your differences. Otherwise, they'll accuse you. Your accuser may hand you over to the judge, and he'll hand you over to the officer, and you'll be thrown into prison. And if that happens, you won't be free again until you've paid the last penny. So now he kind of gets them set up like you need to be living right, but you need to also know that if you're not careful, you're going to come to a place to where you're actually in a prison and there's no way out. And he's kind of setting them up like, I know y'all try to be religious. I know you try to toe the line. There's religious people that toe the line. You're keeping all the rules, but you're not right. Really, where you are is in a prison. I want to ask you something about that in a minute. All right. You've heard, verse 27, that the commandment says you must not commit adultery. But I say anyone that looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery in his heart. What's he doing to them? Setting them up.
Yeah, right.
Right? Because they're thinking, well, I've never slept with a woman. You ever lusted after? Oh, yeah.
Right.
You're guilty.
Yeah.
So what he's setting him up for is everybody hearing him is going to come to the conclusion, I'm guilty. Right? Even the people that think they're not. Right. We said it the other day, the people who are sick, but they think they're well.
Right, right.
He's setting them up. But I say if you even look at a woman with lust, you've already committed adultery with her in your heart. So if your eye, even your good eye, causes you to lust, gouge it out, throw it away. It's better for you to lose one part of your body than your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your hand, even your stronger hand, causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It's better for you to lose one part of your body than your whole body and thrown into hell. I want to talk about that all day tomorrow. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be deep. Let's keep reading and we'll wind it up. You heard the law that says a man can divorce his wife by merely giving her a certificate of divorce. But I say if you divorce your wife, unless she's unfaithful, He calls her to commit adultery, and anyone who marries a divorced woman commits adultery. In other words, everything Jesus is saying to these people, he's saying in a way that you're all guilty.
Right.
And there's nothing you can do. I'm going to end here today with this question. Why do you think we do such a bad job today telling people they're guilty? Nobody. We've said this last week. Nobody's guilty anymore.
Yeah, because
Everybody's right.
the agenda of you can't judge me.
Okay.
So if I put a verdict of guilt on somebody, it means I've judged them.
Okay.
And then that makes me guilty of judging someone. And so then I'm guilty even more so of a higher
I'm
crime.
going to ask you a hard question. In doctrine of God, in the doctrine of what we Christians believe, why is guilt such an important part of doctrine? An understanding of guilt.
Because an understanding of guilt.
Why is that such an important concept?
It's important to know because Jesus he uses this terminology that's often used in a courtroom, right? Guilt and I'm an advocate and all that stuff, right? Sure. And so understand guilt means to know that I'm in debt to something, right?
You're in prison.
I'm in prison.
That's why you're in prison. You're guilty.
Yeah, right. And so to understand that means that I either stay in that prison and just cope with it, or I figure out what I need to do to get out, right? Whether it's I work my way out or whatever. But if you understand that this guilt, you'll never work your way out of it.
Okay.
That it's an eternal sentence.
Okay. So go ahead.
And so a couple weeks ago, I went on this binge of watching 60 Days In. Do you know what that is? No. 60 Days In is...
Oh, yeah, where they're in jail.
Yeah,
okay. I've watched
the sheriff finds these undercover people to go into jail. Yeah. So they go into jail as if they've committed a crime, and they're kind of watching to see where the holes in the jail are and then corrupt people that are working the jail. So I was watching it, and I thought it was just so interesting because even the people that didn't really commit a crime, but it's as if they committed a crime... that this becomes their world, and that's all they know. That this is the ceiling for them is this becoming like a pod boss and trading in the jail currency, which is commissary, a food of the jail, ramen noodles. That's the height, and that's all they know. Even if they get out, they serve their sentence in jail. When they come back, this is their world and the pinnacle of their world. And so the same can be true for us as humans. When Jesus is saying, "Oh, you're in jail," that could be, if you're too prideful, that becomes the pinnacle of your world and operating in that system of the jail.
Sure.
Until you realize, oh, I can be free from that. And there's only one way to be free.
Yeah. So in thought, this whole chapter 5, is a royal slam dunk to a bunch of religious people to get them to see they're guilty. Right. So I'm going to go back and read something. Okay. And every time I read a verse, I want you to chime in, can't do it, I'm guilty.
Okay.
Because that's what Jesus is trying to get them to hear.
Yeah, right.
God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for him, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs.
Can't do it, I'm guilty.
God blesses those who mourn, for they'll be comforted.
Can't do it, guilty.
God blesses those who are humble, they'll inherit the earth.
Can't do it, I'm guilty.
God blesses those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they'll be satisfied.
Can't do it, I'm guilty.
God blesses those who are merciful, for they'll be shown mercy.
Can't do it, I'm guilty.
God blesses those who have a pure heart, you'll see God.
Can't do it, I'm guilty.
Oh, well, God blesses those who work for peace, for they'll be called the children of God.
Can't do it, I'm guilty.
God blesses those who are persecuted for doing right, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs.
Can't do it, I'm guilty.
God will bless you if you won't look at a woman with lust.
Can't do it, I'm guilty.
God will bless you if you won't commit adultery.
Can't do it.
God will bless you if you're perfect.
Can't do it.
God will bless you if you'll forgive your neighbor.
Can't do it.
God will. That's what he's trying to get them to come to.
Right.
You can't do it. And that's the beauty of understanding how much in love with Jesus we need to be, because the greatest thing we can do is, well, whatever God demands of me, I can't do it.
Right.
I'm guilty.
It's good.
Even when we try, and that's what I want to pick up tomorrow and talk about, probably the most taken out of context verse in the New Testament. I want to talk about it tomorrow. But until then, I want you to think about something. There is power when you understand how guilty you are, because it makes you appreciate how forgiving and merciful and gracious he's been to you, because Jesus took the guilt from you so you could come out of the prison and be free. Ryan and I love you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Amen.